one's coming to save you. So what are you gonna do about it? Raw Minds on men's mental health. Hosted by Erick. For the ones we never meet.
Yeah, welcome back to Raw Minds, the place where we stop pretending everything's fine and talk about what truly takes it to keep moving when life gets hard. And before we begin, let's help us grow with the message, please. So if you could leave some messages or follow Raw Minds, share this episode, leave a comment, and send it to someone who needs to hear it. You never know whose life this may change because you pressed one button. So today's guest has led major sales teams, served 12 years in the British Territorial Army, coached top leaders, written books, crossed the Sahara Desert, climbed through brutal mountain races, and won a 300-mile race, through a frozen Yukon. God, that must have been cold. His name is Neil, and Neil has pushed his body and mind into places most people would never choose to go. At 60 years old, he's even took on a 60-hour challenge without sleep to raise money for causes close to his heart. But this conversation is bigger than just running. It is about what happens when the extreme excitement dies and the pain starts. Doubt gets loud and you still have miles left to travel. It's about leadership, fear, purpose, pressure, and the hidden cost of always being the strong one. Today, we're going to go beyond the success. We are finding out who Neil became in the moments when nobody was watching. This is Neil, raw, real, and unfiltered. Thank you, Neil, for joining us on Raw Minds. I appreciate it.
Absolute pleasure, Eric. Thank you for having me.
You're very welcome. Just before I start, I like to get all my guests to plug all their where they can find you. So if you could do that,
you can find me on the internet, neilthubron.com. It's a very unusual surname, so it's pretty easy to find me. And my LinkedIn, again, just put my name into LinkedIn. Those are the best places to connect with me and find me. And from a promoting things point of view, which I always find a little uncomfortable when I get asked that question. So I've got a book out there, which was the lessons I learned in doing the 300-mile Yukon Arctic Ultra, really to help anybody who wants to achieve big goals. And that book's called You Can Achieve Any Big Goal Using the 7P Formula for Success. And I also have a lot of sales training material out there as well, because I have a sales training business as well. So that's my promo done.
Yeah, and they can they find the book on your website as well, correct?
They can find it on Amazon.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can download an electronic version on my website.
Okay, so all those links will be in the bio. So if you guys scroll, but make sure you watch the whole video first, and then scroll down, and you'll get those links in the bio.
Thank you, Eric.
Below there. You're very welcome. So before we get into everything, before how I like to start it off, I like to ask you before Neil, before the book, before the coaching and the leadership and the extreme races, who were you as a young boy? And, what did that look like growing up?
Honestly, it's a great question to start with. And it makes me feel quite vulnerable, actually, as an opening question.
Sorry, man.
No, but it's great because it's not something I talk about very often. So the first thing that comes to mind when you ask that question is, ever since I can remember, I've always had masses of energy. So even as a young boy, I was up early in the morning. I was out running around the streets and the countryside where I lived. I was pulling people together. And even when I was 6-7 years old, I was leading a little gang of kids because we wanted to have fun in the area. And so I guess I'm 61 next week. And, I've still got that same energy. I'm still up earlier than most people I know. I'm still living life to the full. So I kind of taken that all the way through my life. I was adopted as a child at 6 weeks old. I've always known that. And I had amazing adoptive parents that brought me up and gave me every opportunity in a average middle class type environment. And so I guess that's who I was before I kind of became an adult and went into the whole leadership world. And it's just that I guess I've always been full of energy and wanting to live life to the full.
And what got you into this leadership role? How did you step into this for people wondering, how did you choose to do it? Did you kind of just fall into it, or please?
Another a great question. And I think there's, I think there's two ways of thinking about leadership. And there's people who do it as a part of their career progression and they see it as the next step in that process. And then I think, so they're kind of people who create themselves into leaders. And then there are people like, natural leaders. I hate to use that term, but there are people who, and the way I describe it, are prepared to step forward. And are, even in a family situation or amongst a bunch of friends, when people are talking about organizing a holiday or organizing a trip, there's one person that steps forward and said, okay, I'll pull that together. Or when something's going wrong, there's one person that steps forward, says, right, this is what we're going to do. Or, let's get on and do this. And I think I fall into that second category because, as I said in that opening question, ever since I can remember, people have always looked to me for guidance, direction, to pull things together, to organize it from, that bunch of kids that, what are we going to do today, Neil? When I was 7, 8 years old, what are we going to do? Okay, this is what we're going to do. To, I played golf when I was younger. And I got into golf because I got into caddying and just turning up at a golf club. And I ended up leading the junior section of the golf club. And I was the youngest manager in IBM when I was working there.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
So I was 22 years old when I was first made
you were
manager.
A typewriter engineer, right? A typewriter.
That was my first job. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Because I have that. So I just want to talk about that for a second because I remember in elementary school and there was typewriters and we just got computers. Like I had typewriters for the longest time where you have to. That was crazy time. But what is a typewriter engineer? If you could ask, I want to know that.
Honestly, I was 19 years old because I didn't do the university thing. I kind of left school at 18 and went straight into work. And I was 19-year-old and typewriters. IBM made golf ball typewriters. So it's a turning golf ball that hits the page with the different letters on it. At 19, in the center of London, I spent all day with young secretaries who have a machine that they're having to type on. And it was one of the best jobs you could possibly have because you're fixing the machine that they need to work. It was imagine 19 years old spending all days with secretaries helping fix the problem they've got. It was a very cool job. It was hard.
And you're going different places, I imagine, right? So it's not just one place. You're going different places, right?
Yeah. So in central London, so my first company car was a little moped and with a toolbox on the back. And I used to drive around London, all of southeast London, which used to be quite a rough area. It's now a very posh area. Yeah, there were typing pools sweatshops where there were just rows and rows and rows of women who were just typing because there weren't any printers in those days. So if the bank was sending a letter to you or your insurance company and they were sending a letter to thousands of people, it was basically people were typing it and they were typing the same thing over and over and over again.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So that was typing pools. That was the sweatshops in the 1980s.
Holy, that's crazy. Yeah. It's a different type of sweatshop, but yeah. Wow.
It was. Yeah. And there was a lot of those in South London. Yeah. Quite an experience as a 19. A little bit intimidating as well, because you're walking into typing pools of maybe 50 women. Many of them are quite, 30s to 40s. So there were some young women, but in the typing pools, a lot of them were 30s to 40s. And imagine a group of women together, all in the same place, and a young man walks in. Honestly, the sexual abuse I got as you walk, because the supervisor was at the end of the room. So you had to walk this corridor of all these women who were whistling and shouting at you. It was
really,
it was uncomfortable.
Yeah. See, I actually I think I've seen something like this on I forget, it was a war movie, and it was tons of women at typewriters and they're typing letters. Sadly, they're typing letters to the soldiers' families, right?
Yeah.
But I saw something like that. Yeah, I think it was Saving Private Ryan. And it's this is the brother. I think it was that movie, actually.
Could be, yeah. And
Yeah.
I'm not that old, but the
Yeah.
same concept is still the same.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, same concept. That's crazy. So actually, speaking of the military, you were in the military, am I correct?
Yeah, I did 12 years in the Army Reserve, so the equivalent of the National Guard in the US.
Yeah. So I'm in Canada. So we have the reserves too. So we're under the British. As well.
Okay, fine, yeah.
Yeah.
Same
So
thing.
and how did that go? Like, did you go? Was that from out of school, from working into into that? Or?
No, I was working in IBM at the time, and I mean, basically, how I ended up there. So it's not your normal story, but I had one of my best friends had joined the Army Reserves, and he got to go to Switzerland to bobsleigh every year and ski for free as part of his 2 weeks away. They needed people to go and do the bobsleigh team. I was a really keen skier at the time. I still am. And I thought, wow, I'm going to join the reserves so I can go skiing for free every year.
For free.
And in effect, what happened was I joined the reserves when I was about 24, and I actually discovered a complete part of myself I didn't know existed. I knew about the leadership piece, and that came forward very quickly in the...
That's why I'm asking about the military, because, you know, it kind of goes hand in hand in a lot of cases, right?
Yeah. And so I was, I joined as a private, as an enlisted soldier. And in my basic training, I was awarded the best recruit. And the guy who awarded it to me said, you need to go to Sandhurst and apply to be an officer and go to Sandhurst. So I did. And 12 months later, I got commissioned as an officer. And so what changed me were a number of things. Firstly, I realized that physically and mentally, I was so much stronger than I ever thought I was in what I was doing in civilian life. And then the leadership piece, you know, it's because as a young person, you're leading people a lot older than you. You learn some really great skills and techniques about leadership. In Sandhurst is one of the best management schools, leadership schools in the world. A bit like West Point in the US, I guess. I don't know what the equivalent is in Canada. But yeah, it's just an incredible place to go and learn leadership, practice leadership from people who've had to do it in some really tough environments.
Yeah, and especially like being like they put you in tough environments, exactly, under pressure, right? And that's when I guess it make it or break it. I guess that's where that comes in, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, there's it's a pass or fail, not an attend. So you do get put through some. And the way they do it, and it's well documented and well spoken about, is, they exhaust you and they tire you out and they physically and mentally make you really tired of lack of sleep, and then you have to make fast decisions. You have to make quick decisions. You have to lead people. You have to put together orders to deliver an attack or a defense or something. So yeah, they put you through a lot of pressure in that exhausted to really get you to test. Because then when things are easy, it's much easier to lead then.
Yeah. Exactly. Well, I mean, to be honest with you, the last two guests were both military men. One was in the Vietnam War, and he was talking about some stuff. It was pretty, amazing guest. And he was injured 3 times, actually. He went back 3 times, yeah. And then another guy, my last guest, great guy, he was in the USS Cole, and it was the terror attack where the ship came in and blew that up, right? And he said exact same things. Like, for a second, he froze because he saw someone that passed away, that like he was a friend of his, and he broke down crying for a second. But then everything kicked in, like, hey, like, I got it. He's dead. Like, I have to move on. There's nothing I can do in this position. I have to focus, right? And and it's hard. It really is, like, especially when your life's in danger, right? So
yeah, I mean, I've never had to experience that. I admire people who've had to do that. That's
thank God, right? So, but so with that, I guess like discipline too comes in big into play as well, right? When it comes with leadership and coaching and stuff like that. So how does that, like, did you always have discipline, or did the Army help you push discipline into you? Because I know they're huge on discipline.
Yeah. So yes, they're very big on discipline, structure, process, because you need that to just function in a hostile environment when there's lots of people involved, lots of pressure situations. So you have to have those processes and discipline around that. And I believe that the other reason that discipline is so important, that the military teaches discipline is so important, is because it then creates standards and values that then carry on throughout your life. And I've always been really disciplined person anyway. When I've got a goal in mind, I'm incredibly disciplined to be structured to help give me the best opportunity to achieve that goal. I think that's natural in me. Some people it's harder to build that discipline into them. So I think it was easier for me, and I really enjoy the discipline. Actually, I enjoy the structure. And one of the things I struggle with actually is the opposite, is when things get disrupted, or when my discipline gets changed. So I want to go out, for a run in the morning, and I can't because my wife wants me to go and do something. That's where I struggle, is where my structure and routine gets challenged. And I just have to accept that, okay, don't be too attached to it. It's a great routine, but you don't have to do it all the time. So discipline I've learned over the years, and the army did help just pull that together. But I've also learned that you don't be too rigid, because that can cause stress as well.
Yeah. There's a balance, right? There's a balance. And do you find that like that's a big thing with coaching? I mean, not in coaching, but leadership, like with leadership coaching, and what you do?
It's a huge thing. To achieve anything significant in life, whether you're a business owner and you're trying to shape and lead your business, or whether you're a leader within a big corporate, the more structured and disciplined you are, the more you're going to get out of yourself and your team. And the reason I say and yourself, and I'll give you a really good example of this. So I've got a client that I've been coaching for about 4 or 5 years, who used to really struggle with anxiety, stress. He's in a sales environment, a lot of pressure, senior sales leader, and used to really struggle. When he was challenged, he would be very defensive, and he got to the point where he wasn't sleeping, he was not present at home, and the discipline he needed to be able to turn up to be the best person he could be was to have a really structured morning routine where he spent time in nature, he spent time walking, he spent time meditating. And so he invested that time for himself. That discipline of what you do first thing in the morning, I believe, creates who you become. So that's one example. And I guess the other example is being disciplined with how you spend your time and what your diary looks like. And I see that with so many leaders today. When I start working with them, they'll say, I don't have time for anything. I don't have time for this. I don't have time for, I'm just always full on. I've got a box full of emails. And I just say, okay, look at your diary. How much of that do you control? How much of it do you put in there? And with most people, it's 60, 70% or higher. There are only certain things that you have to do because your boss wants you to do them, or your investors want you to do them. So it's up to you how you structure that time and how you structure that day. And so the discipline, and then have the discipline to live what you said you're going to do. So put it in the calendar and then do it. That's a discipline that needs to be learned by many, many leaders.
See, and this, like, not to throw my girl under the bus here, but I mean, she kind of has that too, is like, she gets very overwhelmed, you know what I mean? And starts getting in her head, right? Because there's all these things that she has to do. And what I'll do is I'll sit down with her and I'm like, okay, so what can we take care of right now in this second, right? And then she'll be like, maybe a couple things. She'll say a couple things. I'm like, okay, so do that right now. Do that, right? And one was like an email, another one's blah, blah, blah. And then I'm like, well, what about that? She's like, well, I can't do anything. I'm like, well, why are you stressing about it right now? Like you're letting it live rent free in your head right now. It's taking up all this space that, I mean, hello, I'm in front of you. I could be taking up that space, but you're letting these negative energy, right? Am I right? Is this like?
No, you're 100%. You're spot on, because at the end of the day, couple of key thoughts are, and I'll share it. First one is, look at what's in your control, not what's outside of your control. So there's no point in worrying about things that are not in your sphere of control. And this is one thing that the military are really good at, is getting people to focus on what can I control right now. The second thing is, you can only do one thing at a time. So what's the most important thing to do now? You can't do multiple things. We might think we can multitask. We might think that we're super people, but that is not true. You can only do one thing at a time. And if you do that one thing and do it well, that's it, done, out of the way. As long as you're focusing on the most important thing and not procrastinating about the thing that is the most important thing. What's the most important thing to focus on now, and let's take action and take a step forward.
Yeah, and that's what I find, because like she just gets overwhelmed, you know what I mean? And I'm just like me. I'm the most carefree, laid back, you know what I mean? Like I set goals. Don't get me wrong, and I have, like, I get there. Like every goal that I've set, I've smashed. I've got there. I do it right.
Well done. Congratulations.
Thank you. I mean, like, and I start every day. As I make the non-negotiable, I make my bed every day. I get up, because right off the bat, that's one of my goals, and I'm already starting the day winning. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? Like
mhm.
I'm already starting like, yes, I smashed a goal. So now what's next? And I have small goals in the day that I do, but then I have my long-term goals as well. But I'm at the same time like carefree, and I don't care what anybody thinks or says about me because they're not coming to my birthday,
So that's a key line that you've just said there, though, Eric. That's really important, what you've just said there, that you don't care what other people think. And a lot of overwhelm comes from worrying about what other people will think. If I
Mhm.
don't get this task done, if I don't do this right now and, get it in this minute, who's going to think I've failed? And
Mhm.
it doesn't mean you shouldn't care, because that other people's thoughts are important, but don't get overwhelmed by the fact that your boss has said you need it this afternoon. Well,
Mhm.
and they're going to be disappointed, or you're going to be seen to fail if you don't do it. Actually, is that true? And that's a great question. Is that true? Do they really need it now? Do they really need it today? Do they really need it? If it was an hour later, or if it was tomorrow morning, would that really make a huge difference to life and to the
Well,
business?
depending on the situation, obviously, yeah. Like a doctor, maybe, you know what I mean, or something
Yeah, well,
like that. But yeah,
you're right. I
it's a
mean, life,
different. I just
but
want to
they can
say
only
that for
do,
everybody listening, right? Depending on the situation, don't go
but they
off
can
and tell
only
your
do one
boss,
thing.
"Fuck you."
But
Sorry.
doctors can only do one thing at a time as well.
Yeah, definitely.
And
Yeah,
they have to triage. They have to triage,
yeah.
which patient are I going to focus on now?
Yeah. I mean,
And
it's horrible here in Canada. Our like because we have free healthcare here, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, I mean, it's like going to a concert. Like the lineups out the door just to see the doctor. Like
Right.
it's
Okay.
like 8 hours, sometimes 12 hours, sometimes sitting in there. We've had people actually pass away in the hospital in the waiting room because they've been waiting. It's horrible. And that's what you get with free healthcare. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Everybody says it's great, right? But
Yeah, I agree with you. I think, we've got the same challenge in the
yeah,
UK, because we've got this National Health Service that everyone says is the jewel of and the envy of the world, and it isn't. I mean, it's
yeah,
we've got a good private healthcare system as well in the UK,
yeah,
which a lot of people opt into. The free healthcare is brilliant for accident and emergency, for urgent
yeah,
situations.
yeah,
But yeah, I agree with you. That we could
yeah.
have a long discussion about
Oh
the
yeah, definitely. That's
merit.
for a different podcast. So, but I do want to go into your book. Like, so what, like, so you've gone through all these. So what got you into your book? Because I really want to get into like the Yukon and stuff like that later. But I do like, what got in your book? Like, how did that come to Aspire as well? And
Well,
if we could talk about that, please.
yeah, the two are linked, Eric. So
Yes. Yeah.
how far in? I was 36 hours in. No, less than that. Probably 30 hours into the race, which started at 10 o'clock on a Sunday morning.
And that's 300 miles, right? Is there 300
300 miles, yes. Starts in
Yeah.
Whitehorse in the Yukon territory, and then heads north from there. And it was on the start line, it was minus 35 degrees centigrade. So it's very cold start, and it got colder.
What was the
So
coldest, if you don't mind me asking, that it got that you were?
Yeah,
What-
and this is what happened. So the first night got to minus 55 degrees centigrade.
Oh yeah, I've
Now, I
worked in
didn't
minus
know-
50. It sucks.
Yeah, I didn't know that it got to that level, because I didn't have a thermometer on me. I'm out in the middle of nowhere. I'm moving through the terrain, and the first night was really tough. It was dark. I was getting fatigued. It was incredibly dark. I was on my own. All I've got is the head torch with this tunnel in front of me. I'm pulling
no one like guides. There's no like nothing. You're just by yourself.
So you're by yourself, because there's 46 people started the race. For the race I did, well, after that first night, because it got so cold, there were only 6 people got through that first night and carried on.
Wow.
So the whole field just got reduced in size, because people were overwhelmed by how hard it was. So I got through that first night. It was tough, and I had to dig really, really deep. And as I was heading out on the second afternoon, I started thinking, why is it that I keep managing to achieve these big goals, and that other people fall by the wayside on? They set the big goal, they get ready for it, but they don't finish it. And that was where the idea for the book came from. So I wanted to give people who've got any goal in life a formula for how to achieve that goal. And so I spent the next 6 days, while I was on my own walking through the Yukon, kind of thinking of what the structure of that might look like. And that's
perfect
how I came
timing.
up.
It's a perfect time to do it,
was.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. I mean, I not to compare anything, but I mean, like either that or maybe sitting in jail. You got the time, and I'm not saying sitting, but I mean, you know what
Yeah,
I mean?
yeah.
Like, yeah,
Well, it's like, I do a lot of sailing. And
yeah.
the last big event I did, I sailed from Australia to China in an ocean race,
Wow.
30
With the
days at
team
sea. Yeah, it was an ocean race, and there was 16 other crew on
on
board.
like those big, huge boats, and you guys are like, and like turning with the big sails and stuff.
Yeah, so these are 70-foot, um,
Wow.
70-foot yachts with, yeah, so they're ocean going boats. They don't look that big when they're on the ocean.
Yeah.
And they're not very big down below because there's only enough bunks for half the crew. So you half of you are awake, half of you are asleep. So you're up and down.
24-hour shift kind of thing.
Yes, 4 hours
Yeah.
on, 4 hours off. We were doing
Okay.
for 30 days. So the reason I mention that is because when you're at sea, most of the time you're just sitting, looking out across the sea. Sometimes you're steering, you've got to concentrate. Sometimes you're changing sails, you've got to work hard. But a lot of the time you're just sitting, thinking. And, even the fastest yachts are only going, at their fastest moments, they're doing maybe 20 miles an hour. So you're
Because
not
it's wind powered, right? It's from the wind, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, from the minute you start, you're in the wind the whole time. And so when you've got those moments to reflect, those moments on your own, it is a great time to have that thought process around, okay, so what have I learned? Reflect on what I've achieved so far, and how could I help others with what I've already learned?
And it's so true you say this because, see, for me, it was the passing of my fiance, right? And I was alone a lot of times, I mean, I had Joey, thank God for Joey showing up every day after work and sat with me, didn't say a word, he just sat there and I just holded space. That's all I needed. And then I just turned to him like, I want to start a podcast to help men, and that's how but I mean, it was sitting by myself when he goes, he would only come for a couple hours, and then he would go home and I'd be by myself a lot of the times. And it was healthy. It wasn't, but it was at the same time, and people, as long you can be by yourself, but in a healthy way, if that makes sense. And even though I was grieving and it was a tragic time in my life, I still found that silver lining and made it a healthy way to be by myself so I could reflect and be this better person and become this better person. And now, I mean, after this podcast, I'm a totally different person than I was even before. And it's an amazing journey.
What's interesting about what you've just said there, so the insight you had that you wanted to help other people. So your purpose came outside of you and became about other people. And that's one of the things I've learned and it's the first P I taught. So the 7P formula, the first P is about purpose. If you're going to achieve anything significant, you've got to have purpose. So you've got to know why you're doing it. And there are two types of why. There's why you're doing it for you. So what are you going to get out of it? How's it going to help you? How's it going to help you grow? Or how's it going to help with experience or whatever it might be? But the thing that will get you to the finish line or will grow you much more is, who are you doing this for? Who else are you doing this for? What's the why outside of you, the external why? And if you can find, I work with businesses saying this exactly the same thing, is the internal why is kind of clear, right? You want to make profit, you want to sell the business, there are some internal whys, but the external why, who else is going to benefit from you being successful as a company? Or as an individual, when you're taking on a big goal, okay, there's lots of things you're going to get out of it, but who else might benefit? And that's, so what you've just described there is it expands your thinking, your mindset, and the reason for doing it. And the reason it's so powerful, and you might have found this, is because you want to turn up every day because you don't want to let other people down.
% man.
Whereas you'll let yourself down.
Me and you had that. Well, me and you, we were supposed to have this conversation before, but I didn't realize. I thought it was 12 p.m. not 12 a.m. And you know what? I was so hard on myself. And my girl was like, "What are you?" I'm like, "No, it's like I have a standard, I have people that need to hear this. I have you as a guest, and I don't like time is the most important thing in this world. You cannot get that back. I don't care what anybody says. Time is the most important. And there's this movie called, I think it's called Time or something, and it's I think Leonardo DiCaprio or something, and he's got like a clock on his wrist, and as the clock goes down, they work, and how they get paid is by time. So if your time runs out, you die. So everybody's trying to work, and there's a fathom for work, and people are dying and all this, right? And it's true, and that it really is time. You know what I mean? So like it really I was hard on myself like that, because like I want to help people. I want to do this. I want to just be the best version of me to help other people, to bring them up, because I was a part of my life where I was ready to take my life, and I woke up 2 days later after attempting, and I had those feelings when I was getting those feelings again, and I promised myself I would never get them again or act on them, because I have a little girl and she's my world. So that's I stopped it right there, and I built this thing, man.
Yeah, which is amazing. And that it's just such a great example of the external purpose keeps us driving us when our internal purpose gives up.
Yeah, and it grows. Like, it's not just this. Like I'm now working on. I can't say it too much, but I'll say a little bit of it. I'm working on like a app/web app where it's called ParentPath, where it's now helping people going through the court system without lawyers. Like it's gonna, and it helps them fill out the papers properly, helps them organize it, helps them organize for court, because it's stressful, and a lot of people don't know how to organize or whatever, and there's an AI agent in there to help. Like, so it's like I'm doing, like, it's all, my whole thing now is just pouring out, trying to help people, in different ways. It's pretty fun, man. It's pretty amazing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's amazing. And it's so good to hear that there are people like you who are focused on helping others in a world where so many people are just focused on themselves.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate, and I see it, and I see more of it based on, things that go on around the world as well.
Well, I mean, it's getting crazier and crazier. Yeah, I'm not going to comment on anything, but I mean, it's getting crazy right out there, right?
It is, yeah. And it's almost celebrated. You celebrate being self-centered and selfish, and it's that's the wrong thing to celebrate. The thing we should celebrate is what you're doing.
Yeah, and that's like, I'm shadow banned on like TikTok, so like before I would get lots of people coming in, and now like I'll get maybe a couple of people coming in because they don't like the stuff that I talk about.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like I can't say a lot of stuff. Yeah, they don't like it. But at the end of the day, I don't care. Screw you. I don't care. I speak my truth.
I think but what's also true is that people will find you.
100%.
It's like a magnet. People will gravitate towards you. And I'm a big believer in the old Japanese proverb, which says, when the student is ready, a teacher will appear. And when the student is ready, they will find a teacher, is another way of saying it. And I honestly believe that. And it's like that with coaching, right? I'll have people talk to me about coaching, and they'll say, well, I'm not sure I'm ready yet. Or, or I'm not sure I'm ready to invest yet. That's fine. When you're ready, when the moment is right, when you're looking for that support, then you'll find the right teacher. You'll find the right mentor.
See, and that's like, I would love to get into coaching too. I've done a little bit like with everybody comes to me, all my friends groups, and I've helped people. Don't get, like, people reach out and I've helped people. But I mean, like, truly, like as a job, I would love to do that. And I'm thinking about like getting into that. I built actually a whole 90-day program. It's AI program called the Legacy Method. And it's the legacymethod.com. That's my plug. But yeah, and it's a whole 90-day actually AI program I built where you take a 12 questions onboarding, and it will literally build a 12-week program for you, from tasks to do. There's worksheets. Depending on which program, there's nutrition. There's also working out, fitness. So there's a whole bunch. So there's self growth, there's relationships, there's couples, there's addiction, yeah, it's crazy. There's trauma, it's grief. And like like the thing that I built, man, these AIs are so smart. These agents, there's 12 of them running in the background, and it will literally change the program day to day, week to week, as it goes, as you're going, to help you get to your goal. So it actually it goes there. But you know what? I don't promote it, man. I don't promote it. I don't know, because I just want to do the one-on-ones, really. You know what I mean? I really enjoy that. But I made that for people that are scared, you know, because there's a lot of people out there that, you know, just want to do a workbook and help themselves.
I guess listening to you and your purpose for building this podcast and what's driving you there, your gift seems to be getting a message and helping lots of people, whether that's through this or through an app, which is, or an online course. Those kind of things are the best ways of helping masses of people.
Mm-hmm.
The challenge with doing one-to-one coaching, and it may not fulfill your gift, is you can only help one person.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And that's something I struggle with. I struggle with the fact that what I do mainly is I do one-to-one leadership coaching. I get the chance, because I'm a keynote speaker as well, I get the chance to speak to big audiences sometimes as well and help maybe influence and shape people's thoughts. I do a little bit of group coaching, but they're very small groups. And one of the things that I think that if you've got a gift, if you want to help more people, if your purpose is that external purpose of helping more, then focusing on how to get to more is probably the fulfillment of that purpose, and you'll probably be less fulfilled if you're doing the one-to-one.
Well, and that's what the legacy method is, really. I mean, you know, it can reach anybody, you know what I mean? And it's in every language, right? You know, I mean, there is an option to do one-on-one with me as well on there, right? There is an option, but I mean, yeah, I don't know. I love talking to people. I love making people like think like, you're right. You know, I just love that. And I love just shocking people, because I'll tell you the truth. I'll tell you straight up, like, you're an idiot, but like, you got to do it. I won't say like that, obviously, to a client, but I mean, I'm talking to my friends, right? You know, I'm like, you're an idiot for doing that. You know what I mean? But I still love you. So like, this is why you have to do that, you know, and like guide them the right way, you know, like, cause I call them on their shit is exactly what what I'm trying to say. You know,
and there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Yeah.
That's just good to stop people telling themselves the story that they've been telling themselves.
Yeah.
You know, you have to break that pattern sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually it's, I find myself telling a lot of them, stop having this victim mentality, because I mean, it's okay to be a victim for maybe a day or two in whatever, in the situation it is, you know, like, you know, whatever happens, I get it, but not like a poor me and then make it own. Like, yeah, like, okay, for my fiance passed away. Yeah. Like I was a victim, as in like, yeah, it hurt me, you know what I mean? And that's what I mean, is in like that, like, it's okay to have those feelings.
Yeah.
But like that sense is what I was trying to say. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think the victim mentality is interesting, because I see it a lot in corporate life as well with leaders I work with. And the word that I really get people to focus on is the word perspective. Because what you think might be awful to you and it's happening to you, it's put that in perspective with what is great in your life. What are you incredibly grateful for? And then put that in perspective of what might that be like for other people in the world who don't have the things you've got, and the roof over your head, or the food at the shops, or the healthcare you've got. So perspective is a great way of lifting yourself out of that mentality as well. And the other thing is, and I'm talking about this tomorrow actually, is another way of talking about that victim mentality is that why me? Why now? Why has this happened? And turning that question around to what's great about this? What could I do with this situation that's going to help me be better going forward, or going to help me help other people, which is what you did. And so Tony Robbins says, ask a better question, get a better answer. And it's so true. Just find a better question to ask you.
Yeah. And that's what it's, and like, with everything, there's lessons in everything, right? And that's what you got to find the lessons, you know, why did this happen to me? You know, and that's the mindset that I have. I also God, I was just going to say something. It just slipped my mind, because you're saying something that popped in my head. My God. Okay. Anyways, it'll come back to me.
Yeah.
It'll come back. But yeah, sorry, you were going to say something there?
No, the only thing I was just going to say is be careful about asking why questions of yourself.
Yeah.
Because you're right. Why has this happened to me, and what can I learn from it is a really key.
There it is. Okay, so I remember. So how I say is, like, just because it happened to you doesn't mean that but it's just because something bad happens to you, it's your responsibility to be able to fix that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I wanted to say this too. When you were saying about like the problems, right? And like other people's perspective, I heard a thing and I thought it was a great analogy where you put 100 people in a room and you take their worst problem and you throw it up in the air. Everybody in that room is going to grab their own problem. I bet you anything, everybody will grab their own problem.
Great. I love that analogy. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Am I right? It blew my mind when I heard it. And it's true because, sometimes you may think your problem's bigger, but then there's always a bigger problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And actually, the interesting part of that analogy is we want to own that problem and make it our identity. So when we throw it up, we don't want someone else to grab our problem because that's my problem. I own that problem. Yeah. I'm the identity behind that problem. I want to keep that victim mentality because it's who I am.
Yeah.
So I love that analogy.
Yeah, feel free to use it tomorrow.
I might do. Yeah.
That's all. So I do want to talk about this, like this Arctic though. Like how did you get through that, man? Like what was your, like, you know what I mean? Like you're saying like I've worked in -50. And if anybody that knows, like being in -50, you blink, your eyelashes stick together. Yeah. You're wearing a full balaclava. If you take that off, that thing freezes right to get, like, you know what I mean? Like the first thing goes is your fingers and your toes, man, and the nose for sure. Yeah.
And you'll know this, right? Your discipline's key, right? You have to be disciplined in that environment, especially, we were living outside on that race. We were living outside for nearly 7 days.
Having -50 gear, obviously, right? Like we wear -50 when I was working, all our gear would be like -50 weatherproof. Well, they say.
Yeah. So because you're moving quickly, it's part running, part walking, because you're pulling a pulp that weighs 30 kilograms. So you're not running too much, but you're walking fast. So there is a balance as well between layering because you don't want to sweat too much. And even in those temperatures, you still sweat. You are screwed because your clothes get wet. And I learned a basic lesson that I should have known, but on the first 26 miles, I got to, because I had some down gloves that I had on. So, down, as in down feathers.
Yeah.
And I had a gilet that was also down feathers. And so when your hands, I had three sets of gloves. So an inner glove, which I never took off, then another set, and then mittens. And what I should have known was when down gets wet, it becomes useless for thermal properties. It just gets like a big lump
sponge
of
or whatever. Yeah.
So these mittens became absolutely useless. And I found that out in the first 26 miles. So I did have another big set of mittens that I use. And then same with my gilet, because you've got wicking layers, you're wicking sweat away. It was wicking straight into the down layer. And that became useless as well. So you're wearing clothes to try and manage the temperatures. But some of the things in those temperatures that you just don't realize. Firstly, everything is so silent around you. There's just nothing living. You don't really hear birds in the trees. It's
just wind probably, right?
Yeah, and there wasn't much of that, to be honest. It was very still, so it was just silence. The other thing was your clothes, because there's a bit of sweat coming off and stuff, it becomes like cardboard.
Mm-hmm.
The jacket you're wearing, your trap, they become really solid with...
That's like I was saying with the balaclava, when you take it off, it gets,
Well, because you're breathing and it just gets...
The moisture.
I had a Camelback in my backpack with a tube that came, and I had to put the tube under my arm and then up to my mouth because it kept it warm, as it otherwise would freeze. And I had to keep it the tube just below here, so there was warmth coming up to keep it. So there was things like that. And then if I took my big mittens off, and this was a mistake I made, but if I did it again, I'd change it, and I would put the mittens on my poles so that I could eat something or do something with the pulp. And then I would put the mittens back on and they would be frozen.
Cold.
And it would just like mad, 10, 15 minutes. It would be so painful. What I should have done is take them off and shove them in my jacket to keep them warm. So there were things like that. It is a very, very hostile environment. Having been in the deserts, been in the mountains, there is no question that surviving in that environment is one of the toughest environments to survive in.
Yeah.
And the human body is not suited to be out in those temperatures. And we had people on our race the first night. There was a Polish guy, he lost 2 fingers and two toes on that first night.
Yeah, from frostbite.
Frostbite. Yeah, we had other people who, have still they've got marks on their face where they got frostbite. I mean, you've probably seen frostbite, and it's horrible.
The mother, my daughter, sorry. So she was in Alberta. They were on sleds, and she was younger, just before I met her, and I guess she liked this guy, but she forgot her gloves and she didn't want to go back. So she was just thinking she's all, and she went out she thought it was going to be like half an hour. They were out there for a couple of hours, came back. She had frostbite on her hands. Luckily, she still kept her hands yeah. But I mean,
skidoos are the worst because you're going into the cold
yeah, exactly. So
yeah, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So how was the desert then? How was that? That's like totally opposite. Because I mean, for what a leader then, like a coach. You've done these. You've led yourself into these situations that are crazy, from like extreme hot to extreme cold, right? It's just powerful, man. I just want to say that powerful. Good for you. But yeah, how was the desert too? Yeah.
Yeah, and do you know what? It's all about living life to the full, right? I wanted to experience what it's like being out in the desert. And when I entered, that was the first big race I entered, big multi-day race I entered back in 2009, was the Marathon des Sables in the Sahara Desert. When I entered it, I was really scared. I was scared about would I be able to get through it? Living in those temperatures. It was billed as the toughest race on earth. I remember saying to my wife, because I was watching it on TV, because we didn't have, in 2009, it wasn't really on YouTube and things like that. And I said, this really scares me. And I've got a belief in life that if something scares you, you should go do it.
Yeah.
So I went, and it is a pretty hostile environment as well. It's a very dirty environment, the desert, which is, I didn't realize this until you get there, because anything that has, gone to any animal, that's died is in the sand. Anything that's gone to the toilet or anything like that is in the sand. So the sand there's lots of bacteria. So if you get a little cut in the desert and in that environment, it gets infected quite quickly.
I never thought of that.
No, I didn't. And I found out while I was there, just so you have to be so disciplined with your, putting hand gel
hygiene
on.
And all that.
Yeah. So before you eat anything, make sure you clean your hands. Whenever you do anything, go to the toilet, take your clothes, clean your hands. You just have to be. So the heat
dust storms too, though. Dust storms. Did you go in that?
So you get sandstorms out there.
Sandstorms. Yeah.
I didn't experience any while I was actually racing, but when we were in camp, we had a couple, and you just have to, like anything, it doesn't last forever. It's not very pleasant at the time. You just have to, knuckle down and cocoon up. But once it's gone, it's done. You do get sand in everything. So
everywhere,
you just
But my dad he used to go to the Burning Man. Have you heard of the Burning Man?
Yeah, I have.
Festival. Yeah. So when I think I was like 16 years old, but yeah, he used to go around that time, maybe before that. And he used to go like every year, and he would tell me like these sandstorms, they get crazy, you get sand everywhere. You wear goggles. I remember asking him, I was on Hastings Streets here in Vancouver, and I was on Hastings Street in Burnaby, actually, in an Italian restaurant. It was me, my dad, and my buddy. And I'm like, can I come to the Burning Man with you? And my dad's a character. Like, I don't talk to him. Like, there's a reason why I don't talk to him.
Okay.
But he turns to me like, I'm sorry, son, but I can't take you to Burning Man with me. I'm going to be fucked up on every type of drug, and I won't be able to take care of you.
Right. Okay.
I was like, okay, Dad. Yeah.
At least he's honest.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, there's a reason why he's not in my life anymore, right? But
okay.
yeah. But I just want to say thank you, man. It's at the end here. I just want to say thank you. I had a great conversation. I don't even have words. Like you've sailed. You've done these crazy sails. You've wrote your book. You're doing coaching. You've climbed the Yukon, the Sahara. Like wild, man. You know what I mean? I think it's awesome what you're doing and helping people, man. I just want to say I appreciate you. I thank you for coming on to Raw Minds. And one last thing, if you could just plug your stuff one last time so people know where to get you, and it will all be in the bio too.
Okay. Yeah, no, and Eric, look, I just want to say, look, thank you for having me on, and thank you for what you're doing, because what you're doing is so important. I've got a son and a son-in-law, and I've got 3 daughters, and they're all in their 30s. And I've got 3 grandchildren now as well, 3 granddaughters. But what you're doing for the men, and my son's just run a couple of charity events to raise money for men's mental health as well. This is such an important topic. So no, it's been a pleasure being here. Yeah, and if anybody wants to connect with me, please do. I'd love to talk to anyone who wants to reach out. So neilthubron.com is my website. You can get a hold of me on there, or just look for my name on LinkedIn and you'll find me.
There's
on
LinkedIn
there as well. Yeah, so just there. And the book, if you want to read the book, is called You Can Achieve Any Big Goal.
I don't have that one, but it will be, sorry to cut you, but it will be in the bio. I just want to make sure everybody knows. So it will be in the bio. So if you can, just send me that info after, if you mind, just send me the email, because I don't think I have that. I looked it up, and these were the only ones that I think I saw in the email. So I'm sorry, everybody, but it will be in the bio.
Thank you.
So,
no, that's great. Thanks, Eric.
Well, I really appreciate it. And then again, guys, this is not our normal time. We did this at 12 a.m., but hey, we do what we do over here, and we get her done. And actually, I will see you guys again at 6 p.m. today for another episode. So, awesome. And then on Tuesday, there's another one, I believe. I'm doing lots. I took a 4 weeks off to build this website and stuff, and doing, some me time. I had to take some time off. I've been hard. Yeah. So, but anyways, guys, thank you again. Appreciate you. And we'll see you at 6 o'clock.
Thanks, Eric.
Thank you.
Raw Minds. Men's Mental Health. Hosted by Erick. Follow, subscribe, like, share. For the ones we never meet, you're not alone.